I'm sitting here thinking about this. I've been having some issues. I don't want to look at the screen too much. And I was wondering if you could do the reading, like if we need to read a verse tonight, if you could do it.
Yeah, man.
All right. And just use whatever version you want. You like the ESV, right?
ESV is good, but thanks to the power of the internet, we know we really could look at anything. But your
Yeah.
eyes bothering you, man?
Yeah. Yeah, I've been having some problems for a while now. And I don't know. Tomorrow, hopefully, I can. I think some new lenses are in that should help me.
Okay.
And uh,
Now, do you like? I'm no doctor or anything, but do you notice pretty direct? There's a pretty direct correlation between the like. Do your eyes hurt more as you look at the screen more and more, and
y-
it gets better when you get off of it?
yeah, yeah. There's definitely some connection there to looking at screens, and then even reading off a page. If I just do it too much, I start to get achy muscles around my eyes and stuff. So I'm just straining my eyes and so something's goofy, but there. I went to the eye doctor last week and he made an adjustment in things. And I have new lenses coming. Uh, I don't know. I hope it's just something that simple. It could be worse though. I don't know. You know, there's a family history with me and some eye problems, so who knows. But
Really, just kind of needing glasses and stuff like that.
I hope that's all it is. Yeah,
Right.
yeah.
Okay, I see. Did the doctor notice anything glaring when he gave you kind of a general exam or
Well, yeah, I don't know. I'm not going through normal stuff, so it's a little abnormal.
okay,
So,
fair enough.
yeah.
One thing I did was noticed too on occasion if I spend too much time on the screen, especially since I teach and I work a lot from a laptop, my eyes will kind of start to strain and hurt as well if I look at a screen too much. But what I did was I was able to go to my settings and kind of turn off the it looks a little different, but I was able to turn off like a lot of the blue light and it's shift from cold colors, which is like blues, to like warm colors like reds on the
Mhm.
screen. And I notice I fall asleep a little better and my eyes don't strain as bad.
Well, that's good. Yeah, I should try something like that. These lenses I'm getting have a blue treatment that blocks certain rays and stuff, and it's supposed to help. So,
Okay.
but I should I don't know, look into settings and stuff. Um, yeah, so for the last month, I guess, I've been trying not to look at the screen. Like I listen to YouTube lectures and stuff, but I just cover the screen with a blanket and relax. I just haven't been looking at the screen. And I made a couple videos that required minimal editing, so I had to look at the screen a little, but just trying to really minimize it big time.
Right.
And, so I don't know. Having some issues though. But like this video tonight, it's recording right now. I'll chop off like this first part or whatever. But it'll probably have minimal editing and stuff. I'm not gonna try to make it pretty or anything.
No, that
But
sounds good.
the discussion will be all people need anyway. And you know, so
Yeah, good stuff, man.
yeah, but there's some things I've been wanting to talk about. Important stuff. And we can't delay anymore on some of this. So I wanted to talk the tower context, which is Genesis 9. And then because you have to be ready with that context before you read the tower story in Genesis 11. And in fact, something I need to say that I don't think has come out too much, maybe a little bit in some videos, is that the narrative originally flows from chapter 9 to 11, and the priests inserted this table of nations and to let a extremely noisy car go by. The priests inserted the table of nations right before the tower narrative. And it's to explain the purpose of the narrative. And it's kind of like the fragment concerning the sons of God and stuff at the beginning of chapter 6 is providing an explanation as to why we find a flood story, a flood, a divine judgment there. It's telling us why. Well, the table of nations is inserted at this point to tell us why we find this tower narrative. And but what people need to understand is that there's a flowing narrative in chapter 9 that provides context for the tower story. So when you're reading of the tower in the first part of chapter 11, you have to have some context in mind that comes from chapter 9. That's real important to understand. And so do you want to go through chapter 9 real quick?
Yeah, that sounds good, man. I also wanted to add, you've mentioned that before, I believe, in a past video, or at least we've mentioned it when we've talked. I don't know if you've actually put it into the video, but it's very natural for most people to read like 9, 10, 11, chronologically. But you had mentioned before how chapter 10, I believe, is that table of nations that's inserted into the text. And it kind of, if you think that 9 precedes 10 and 10 precedes 11, it kind of throws you off a little bit on understanding the Tower of Babel. But if you understand that's the table of nations, it was inserted for that specific purpose. And then we go back to chapter 9, kind of skip 10 in a way into 11. You're saying that gives us better insight into the Tower of Babel?
Yeah, I'll tell you what's lost on people is look at chapter 11 real quick. Go to
Sure.
go to Genesis 11. And this is the tower.
All right. Do you have a preferred? I like the ESV, but we could do King James Version, NRSV. It really
ESV's fine.
ESV. Okay.
Yeah. But just read the first line there.
Sounds good. All right, Tower of Babel, Genesis chapter 11, verse 1. Now the whole earth had one language and the same words. And as people migrated from the east, they found a place in the land of Shinar and settled there.
Okay. As people migrated
From the east, it
from the
says.
east, yeah.
You want me to
Well,
try it?
yeah, get a different translation.
Because it's supposed to isn't it supposed to say like to the east or towards east?
Yeah, yeah. There's an issue there where translators would like it to say from the east, but that's not what it means. So that's a bummer. I'll have to edit this out. ESV is no good here. Go to the NRSV.
Okay.
It's possible to translate it that way, but it's doubtful. And
Sure.
I don't know. It upsets me that certain translations do that.
Well, I'm looking at King James here. It also says, and it came to
Yeah,
pass as they journeyed from the east.
yeah. And that's not right. Yeah. Is the NRSV there?
I'm looking NRSVA
Oh,
updated edition.
updated. Get that one.
Okay.
See what that says.
Darn, that says as they migrated from the east.
Hmm. Yeah. Well, I guess I could go to Driver or somebody to show people that that's really not right. Um,
Hmm,
that ticks me off. What's the NASB say?
that's where I was going next. Ah, here we go. I think this is it. Verse 1. Now all the earth used the same language and the same words, and it came about as they journeyed east that they found a plain in the land of Shinar and settled there. Then they said to one another, come, let us make bricks and fire them thoroughly. And they used brick for stone, and they used tar
Yeah.
for mortar,
All
and they
right.
said, okay,
All right. Let me think about how we should do this. I'm gonna edit all this crap out. I don't know. Let me think. I I just wish I could flip to Driver or something right now, but I can't look at the screen. So I'm kind of frustrated. Okay. Well, anyway, let me just backtrack and cover stuff again because editing this together, it'll sound goofy at this point.
right.
Um, all right. Well, we'll just use the NASB for this video. And then just forget about it. I don't know. We'll just use the NASB and so let me think. Okay. I mentioned the table of nations is inserted. Okay. All right. So really what's lost on people here when if they don't understand the flow of the narrative from chapter 9 to 11 is in the opening of the tower narrative. It says, as they journeyed east, they, who's they? And the question arises, is this all of the Adenic people? Is this all of them that, you know, is this all of them? Or is this some of them? I don't know. We don't know. Like, as they journeyed east. And a lot of people will read it and just assume, well, that's all of them, but it's not all of them. It's a certain group of them. And you know that if you're keeping the context in mind from chapter 9. And so that's really the main reason chapter 9 is so important, because you have to understand that it's Ham and his family that is involved in the Tower of Babel episode. It's not all of the Adenic people. It's Ham's family that leaves Eretz Eden, goes to Eretz Shinar, and is involved in this tower incident. And that's important to understand for different reasons. But so it's this context in Genesis 9 that provides that. And a lot of people might not really notice it. And it's real important. In fact, it's one of the most important things I've noticed in my study that I don't see other people teaching, really. And it's all right here in Genesis 9. And the first thing that's important in Genesis 9 is in verse 1. And let me see. Go ahead and what does Genesis 9:1 say then? Go ahead and read that.
All right, out of the NASB, chapter 9, verse 1. Then God blessed Noah and his sons and said to them, be fruitful and multiply and fill the earth.
Okay. Now right here is the use of Eretz, and it's used straight up. They're in Eretz Eden. It's the sacred region. This is where they are. And Noah's Ark landed on Mount Zion. And we covered that in an episode. I've talked about how I'd like to go over it again sometime, and maybe I will. But so we've covered that, though, that Noah's Ark landed on the holy hill of Eden, and it's Mount Zion. And when Noah and sons came off the ark, God told them to go and fill the land. So they were to repopulate Eden. That's the idea there. Not many people know that, but that's what's going on. And I guess something else I could mention, God makes a covenant concerning the land. And that's real important. It's the first covenant. Let me see, did I write down here? It's the first covenant in a succession of covenants that pertain to restoring the axis mundi. That's what it's all about. And this first covenant pertains to the land. But that's just real important to understand that the sacred land is in view here. A lot of people don't know that. How should I go about this? Let's see. I don't think I need you to read the whole chapter. In Genesis 9:18 to 29, this should be, I just have that jotted down in my notes here. Is this this is where Ham performs his act against Noah, and Noah curses him, right?
In chapter 9?
Yeah. Verses 18 to 29 I have written down here. What is that?
I can read it for you.
All right.
Now the sons of Noah who came out of the ark were Shem, Ham, and Japheth, and Ham was the father of Canaan. These three were the sons of Noah, and from these the whole earth was populated. Then Noah began farming and planting a vineyard. He drank some of the wine, become drunk, and uncovered himself inside his tent. Ham, the father of Canaan, saw the nakedness of his father and told his two brothers outside. But Shem and Japheth took a garment and laid it on both their shoulders and walked backwards and covered the nakedness of their father. And their faces were turned away, so that they did not see their father's nakedness. And when Noah awoke from his wine, he knew what his youngest son had done to him. So he said, Cursed be Canaan, a servant of servants he shall be to his brothers. He also said, Blessed be the Lord, the God of Shem, and may Canaan be his servant. May God enlarge Japheth, and may he live in the tents of Shem, and may Canaan be his servant. Noah lived 350 years after the flood, so all the days of Noah were 950 years, and he died.
Okay. All right. So we've talked a bit about this in previous episodes. Ham steals the birthright. In fact, in one of our older videos, the first time I went over this, I kind of goofed it up. And I said Ham stole the blessing. And that's just not quite right. And what you have here, Ham secures the birthright in his line by what he did. And that's why the child is named Canaan. And that's real important. That is the sacred region. And so there's connections here. But Ham secures the birthright in his line by doing what he did. But he needed Noah's blessing too, and he didn't get that. He got a curse. Noah cursed him in the land. This is why they journey east to a different Eretz at the beginning of the Tower narrative. And that's why it's Ham and family. Instead of being, let's see, what does verse 27 say? Genesis 9:27.
May God enlarge Japheth, and may he live in the tents of Shem, and may Canaan be his servant.
Yeah. This curse, Ham and family weren't willing to accept that, and they left. That's something that a lot of people just don't know. So there's several things in this chapter that a lot of people don't know. They don't understand the sacred region context of verse 1. They don't understand that Ham has secured the birthright through his line by what he did. And it comes to this boy. And that also is a serious indication of where Eden was, Canaan. It's not down in Sumer. It's not up in Armenia. This is a very serious indication of that. But, so a lot of people don't know about that. And then the third thing is they don't understand who left and went to Eretz Shinar and why. So all of that is just real important for people to get. It's all in chapter 9. This chapter is overlooked by a lot of people. They don't see the significance of it. So I don't know. It's just real important though. And so does that make sense?
No, for sure, man. It gives motive into why Ham left, and then he gives him motive on why he wanted to build the tower.
Right. We'll get into what all that means. Okay. Okay, I'm looking at my notes here.
Is there anything from Driver you want me to say? I have his critical commentary pulled up.
Well, what's he say on that verse 11:1 as they journeyed?
11:1. I gotta here. Sorry, let me go to it here. I'm at chapter 9. Chapter 10, the Table of Nations.
You have to flip like 30 pages to get.
Yeah. That's all right. Here we go. The Tower of Babel. Let's see.
He might say what I'm saying, maybe not. I don't know. It's either him or Skinner or Dillman. I'm sure it's Driver though.
So 11 verse 1.
Yeah. What's he say? Just about that expression. As they journeyed east, does he correct that? Or journeyed from the east, does he correct that?
Let's see. Eastwards. Let's see. Eastward eastwards or in the east of Palestine. The expression is a vague one and it's idle to speculate, especially in the view of the uncertainty mentioned above as to original context of the narrative, whence the writer may have supposed mankind to have started.
Well, he's saying eastward or in the east of Palestine as they journeyed in the east. But eastward, yeah. See, that's the actual meaning. Now, it's possible to translate it as they journeyed from the east, but it's doubtful. And
He does.
it's either driver doesn't say that there. It could be Skinner, it could be Dillman. Somebody says it's really not the right way to look at it.
Driver does like that's all he says about that, but he does use a version where he says, "And the whole," it says here, "and the whole earth was of one language and of one speech, and it came to pass as they journeyed east
Yeah.
that they found a place." So whatever, uh,
Well, that's his translation.
yeah, whatever translation he uses, it says as they journeyed east.
Yeah. He probably translated it. Um, okay. So driver he's got the right idea here. And I'll bet Skinner says so. Skinner may be the one that says from the east is really not right. That sounds a little more like Skinner's attitude, actually, now that I think about it. Um, that might be a Skinner thing. So I don't know. Don't bother looking that up, though. I mean, it's just doesn't really matter. Um, well, okay, so far I made a tower context segment that'll make a good video. I have to chop some pieces out, but that's all right. Tower context, I'll call it. And it's
Yeah, that
setting,
last part you said was good.
yeah, yeah. It's good enough, I hope. I hope the people can just hear it and go with it. There's a few other things I could mention from chapter 9. It says Noah planted a vineyard. So the cultured vine in Canaan dates back to a good time for my view. But this is a detail that can cause trouble for people that try to stretch the flood back too far in the distant past. There's people that try to push it back 12,000 years ago and stuff like that. And there was no cultured vine at that time. So that's just kind of something to keep in mind. Noah, when the dove came back to him, it had an olive branch in its beak. And so this is an indication that he was in the area of Canaan and not up in Armenia, because the olive is not native up there. So there's some of these little indications in the chapter 8, chapter 9 here that help locate Eden in Canaan. And then I would emphasize that the name of the boy, and we've talked about this, how I think it's actually a priestly update. I think it's just my opinion. People don't have to follow me on this. But I think the Mosaic narrative said the boy, and I think the priest said Canaan. But there's a very important reason that that boy is named Canaan. And that really, the more you think about it, that really locates Eden. It really does, over against the other theories out there. And I guess that's all I can think of to say for now. On the tower context. This meeting is starting to run out. Do you want me to end this and maybe do another meeting and we'll just talk about what the tower is?
Yeah, sure, sounds good.
All right. I'll end this one and then send you another invite.
Well, before you ended, I was able to get John Skinner's critical commentary. I wasn't sure if you want to read for this or maybe look into something on our next video.
Well, what's he say?
Let's see. It's kind of hard to read his commentary here. Chapter 11, right?
Yeah.
Um,
As they journeyed from the east. Now, I think he'll use the King James and just put his own comments in there.
where the heck does he? The expression suggests that a mankind is already spread far and wide over the earth. That's interesting. Though forming one great nation united by a common language, and B, on the other hand, it is still a body of nomads moved all together in search of a habitation. Let's see. Means broke up from the east. The Euphrates Tigris Valley, where Babylon.
Are you in 11:1?
Yeah.
Okay. And it says from the east. And
Uh,
I don't
it,
understand his comment, like what you're reading.
right. Broke up from the east. That's what it says. See, the building of the city and the tower. Yeah. Versus. Does he even talk about verse one?
Yeah. It should say from, and as they journeyed from the east, like balded or something, then he'll talk about it.
Mm-hmm. Let's see. Nearly all modern prefer as they wandered in the east or eastward,
Yeah.
justifying the translation by 13 something, which is the only place where some Greek word means eastward. That never means from the east is at least a hazardous assertion in view of Isaiah 2:6, 9:11.
If I'm hearing him right, he's saying that the word utilized in the Septuagint would make it absolute, that it means journeying eastward. And see, I've heard that there's ambiguity, like it's possible to translate the Hebrew from the east, but it's doubtful. It's not what it means. It means traveling east. It sounds to me like what Skinner's saying there. He says there's a Greek term that mean it absolutely means traveling eastward. That's what he says? He must have the Septuagint in mind.
He must. Yeah, he just says that nearly all modern prefer to say as they wandered in the east or eastward, and then next sentence it says that never means from the east.
Okay. Yeah.
That's what he's saying there.
Well, Skinner is probably the guy I'm thinking of that was saying that yeah, that it's doubtful to translate from the east. Yeah. I just know that's the case, and it's disappointing to me. Now the King James, that it's okay that they messed it up, but to have the NRSV and the ESV translating it that way, seemingly what, over against the Septuagint, that's not good. They shouldn't be doing that. They think the ark landed on Mount Ararat, you know, or something, and
Right.
then they have people, I don't know, traveling. I don't know. They just have reasons they want to translate it that way, and I just don't get it. So,
You'd think they want to respect the best text, but like you said, it must fit their narrative better. So that's kind of crazy though that people would just deceive people like that to fit their own narrative.
yeah, I don't know. I'm not a linguistic expert though. There's got to be more to it than that. I mean, to have the NRSV going that way is I don't know. That's because that I don't know. That's just unusual. Uh, yeah, Skinner though. Skinner and Driver give the truth of the matter. It means as they journeyed eastward, or you could say as they journeyed in the east. So they left Canaan and were now east of their traveling, journeying. Um, that would be the most loyal way to translate it.
Now,
So,
I know you can't see the screen, but would you want me to try to share my screen to like kind of show it for the video or
yeah. Um, if you can you share your screen?
I clicked it and it said host disabled participant screen sharing. Host disabled participant screen sharing, it says.
Well, that's probably my default setting.
Yeah,
Like, um, I bet I have to have a paid subscription or something to allow other people to do that. Like
right.
I have their generic 40-minute thing.
Right. Well, the audio alone, we said some good stuff, frankly, and anybody can go to the Internet Archive for free and look at Skinner and Driver's
Yeah,
expositions and critical commentaries, just like I did. I did not pay a dime. I didn't log in or anything. They can. That's the kind of the cool thing, man. They could just
yeah,
look at it themselves and know that, oh yeah, they do talk about that. We're not pulling this out of nowhere.
yeah, yeah.
So yeah,
Yeah, I'll put the links in the description at least, and people can go look it up. Maybe I can throw those pages on when I make the video. You know, I have those pages already in my picture files.
cool.
So, uh, I'll figure something out. Yeah, this was a good meeting though for the tower context.
Yeah.
And then we may as well go over the tower, and I guess I'd like to try to get into the priests of the gods because that proves that the gods are real once again. So,
Sounds good. I'll see you in the next meeting.
all right, cool, man.
All right, sweet.
I'm glad you said something.
It's easy to forget. You hit that first time and you never kind of forget that you leave and it's like, yeah.
Yeah, I know.
That was nice about Google Meet. You just met once and you're good. And or you click she click record once and you're good and then you can record 3 4 hour long conversations, but that's all right.
Yeah, 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 that was awesome. Well, I've already missed one good meeting by not hitting record that I'll
Yeah.
never forgive myself for. To this day, I'm mad, but that's all right. Um, we'll bring people up to speed on all that stuff sooner or later anyway. But so here's Genesis 11 on the screen. And the first thing to notice is that this is the Edenic people. Now, all the land use the same language and the same words. This is talking about a unity of the Edenic people in language, and they're all still in the sacred region here. So this is just after Noah's curse, basically. And then here in verse 2 is where Ham and family disembark and come to the land of Shinar. And so it's important to understand who this is. It's important to understand they're in the sacred land, but just Ham and family leave. And this land of Shinar, this is the use of Eretz. So this Eretz is Eden. This is a different Eretz where Ham and family go. And that's just real important to understand right there in Genesis 11, 1 and 2. So, power context, you've got to know that. And the reason that's important is because they decide, build ourselves a city and a tower whose top will reach into heaven. And let's make a name for ourselves. This plays into the name theme in the narrative. The sons of God came down and produced Nephilim, which were men of the name. And a lot of people don't know this, but in my view, they were at least trying in their own sort of way to do something helpful, but it was condemned by God. And this theme is seen also in the name Shem. His name means name, and God's plan is going to manifest through Shem's line. But that's why Shem has the name that he has. And here also, the Tower of Babel, this name theme comes out. And this, what they're building here is a ziggurat, and we've discussed that before. A ziggurat intending to invite down the deity and establish the presence of the deity. And this is something, this concept would manifest later in history in idolatry. And that's something we'll have to get into more. An idol is a little tiny attempt at an axis mundi, essentially. A ziggurat is an attempt at an axis mundi. And that's what's going on in the Tower of Babel story. It's an attempt to establish the axis mundi, but they are in the wrong eretz, and it's condemned by God. Let me see. Okay, name. Ham and his descendants are scattered for the most part in Canaan. Here's what's important to understand. Ham and family, they wanted to establish this in their new location. Otherwise, we will be scattered over the face of all the earth. They have Eden in mind here. They don't want to be scattered abroad over the face of Eden, where they would serve to the other Edenic people in accordance with Noah's curse. Do you see that?
Yeah. Yeah.
Now let me go over that again. I don't know if I worded that. I probably didn't present any of that the right way for people, so I should do it again. So the descendants of Ham left the Edenic people and journeyed east, and they tried to establish the axis mundi. Okay. What they're going to try to do, they have the birthright, but they're not in the right land. And they're going to try to establish the axis mundi in this new region in defiance of Noah's curse.